In this video, I'm going to show you how to create the keychain model for 3D printing. So first things first, go into your folder, go into the 3D printing folder. Top left, you're going to see a blue create button. Go ahead and hit that, and then hit document. Then you can name your file. Go ahead and just name it keychain, and hit create. So now the first thing we do when we create a model is we want to create a sketch. So we're going to go ahead up here to the sketch button, click that. And we need to select a plane for our sketch to go on. So in this instance, we're going to use the top plane here. Create a sketch there, and then if you press N on the keyboard, that's going to normalize it so that you're working in a 2D surface. And then go ahead and press P on the keyboard to make the planes invisible. So first thing I want to do, because I know the max dimension for my keychain is going to be 2.5 by 2.5, I'm going to draw a 2.5 by 2.5 rectangle to see what kind of building surface I have to work with. So I'm going to use this corner rectangle tool, drop a point on the origin, go ahead and drag a box, then click once, and then go ahead and type 2.5, enter, 2.5, enter, and we'll have 2.5 by 2.5. If you accidentally clicked a different dimension and maybe this is reading something else, you can either double click here to change the dimension, or if you press D on the keyboard or press the dimension button up here, you can click on a line and actually dimension it to the size you want. So now that we have our general size there, for this case you can either use this, add a hole to it, add your name on it, or what I want to do is I want to go find an image to trace and use that as my keychain shape. So I'm going to go over here to Google, and I'm just going to use an anvil image for this one. You can use whatever you'd like. And detail doesn't really play a factor because the 3D printer can get really fine detail. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this, save image as, save my image to my downloads. The other thing you could do if this image won't save as a JPEG, so when I do save image as, if this is not a JPEG or PNG, it's not going to work. So go ahead and do Windows Shift S, and that's going to allow you to take a screenshot of it instead. So now we're going to go back to OnShape, go to this DXF drop down here, hit Insert Image, go ahead and hit Import, find your image here. So let's see, I believe it's this one right here. Click on the image here, and then it's going to want you to drag a rectangle. So I'm going to just place a point here and drag a box around that size just so I can get my general size for my dimension. So now I have my image in here. I can go ahead and use line, rectangle, circle, arc, polygon, or spline to help trace out this image. So most of mine are just going to be a line here, and I'm just going to go along the edge here and kind of trace my image. I get to this big arc here. I can use a 3-point arc. Click here, click my second point, and then drop my third point. And it doesn't have to be exact to the image. Get creative with it. Do whatever you'd like, but just kind of keep it within the guidelines. So I'm going to keep following here. I'm going to come to another arc here. Again, drop my 2 points and then my third point. So just go along, trace your image, add any details you'd like to it, and then I'll show you the next step so that you can add text to it. Now that I have my image traced out, I can go up here to this text tool, and you're just going to draw a text box, and then you could go ahead and type your name in it, and go ahead and change. You can mess around with the fonts if you'd like, bold it, italicize it, whatever you'd like. Now you can see that we have our text there. Say we dropped our text in there, it's not really the right size, or we want to rotate it a little bit. You're going to go up here to this drop down and hit transform. Something else to keep in mind, if you can't ever find these tools that I'm talking about, there's a search bar up here. It makes it real easy to search for the one you're looking for. So transform we can use for a couple things. We can go ahead and drag a box around our whole shape. Using this diagonal arrow, we can scale our whole shape up to get it a little bit closer to our dimension so that we can use that full space. And if you go a little bit over, that's okay. Go ahead and scale that. We can also use this box here to move it around, or we can use these arrows to move it around, or use this to rotate it. So go ahead and just play around, position it how you'd like. Then I can click outside of it. Now let's say I just want to transform my text, make it bigger, move it around. I'm going to use the transform tool again. I can just click on one of the lines outside my text, and I can move it around, scale it up a little bit bigger, however I'd like. And then again, click out in the space. So the last thing we want to add to this keychain is we want to do a hole to put our keyring in. So I'm going to use the center point circle, and I'm going to put it somewhere along the edge here. Draw a circle, and let's make that 0.1 inches in diameter. Same thing, if you type the wrong thing, you can double click or use the dimension tool to change it. If you grab on the center point of the circle, you can move this around. So we want it kind of close to an edge, that way we can get the keyring in. Once we're happy with our keychain, add as much detail as you'd like, get as creative as you want with it. Of course, keep it school appropriate. Then go ahead and click this green check mark. And we're going to go ahead and extrude our shape here. So I want to extrude the total anvil right now. So I'm going to drag a box around it. Make sure you don't extrude your big 2.5 inch square. And remember, we want to keep this at 0.25 is going to be our max dimension for that. So I'm going to type 0.25, and I want to change this arrow so that the sketch is still on top here. And I'm also, while I'm doing this, going to deselect that hole so that that hole goes all the way through. Now I can go on the left hand side, hit show sketch 1 again so that I can cut out my letters. So now I can go ahead and select just the letters here. Oh, sometimes it's a little tricky to select the letters, but there you go, select each letter here. Now that I have my letters selected, I want to remove those from it. So there's two options. You can either extrude it a little bit more, or you can remove it from the surface. So I want to remove it, so I'm going to go over here. Instead of add, I'm going to do remove. And then obviously that's going all the way through, which we don't want it to. So I'm going to change my depth to 0.1. That way it'll go not quite halfway through, but somewhat like that. And you can make that however you'd like. Then we can go and turn our sketch back off, and we have our keychain shape. So now we have our basic keychain shape. You can stop there and then follow along with the video to bring it into Bamboo Studios. Or if we want to maybe polish it up a little bit, we could go ahead and use the chamfer tool up here. We could add a slight chamfer on both sides of our hole. Change the dimension to whatever you'd like for that. Add a chamfer to that hole. The other thing you could do is you could use this fillet tool here if you wanted to add a slight fillet to some of your edges here to kind of give them a rounded over. And you can change that dimension there for however big or small you'd like that to be. So once you have your keychain looking how you want it, get as creative as you'd like with it. Then we're going to go ahead and bring it into Bamboo Studios. So you're going to follow along with the next video, and that's going to show you how to bring it into the Bamboo Studios and slice it for the 3D printer so that you can 3D print your keychain.